Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast created for international students by international students with the support of the International Students and Scholars Center here at Arizona State University. My name is Valeria, and this is the Fire Talk. We have a very special guest today. Her name is Kate. She's one of my really good friends, and Kate is doing incredible things in the space of social media as well as other things. Hello, Kate.
Hi, everyone.
Do you want to share a few words about what you do?
Okay, hi, everyone. My name is Kate. I'm a content creator and social media manager and entrepreneur in the content creation and Web3 space. My work in content creation space and in Web3 have several directions because it's just such a wide niche and there's so many things can be done. So I work with brands. I have my own social media platforms where I build the audience. I create my own educational products. I also help business owners and online coaches to promote their services, their products. So I just do like different things in Web3 space.
That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about your background. Where are you from and how did you end up in the US?
Sure, my background actually has nothing to do with social media. But yeah, I was born and raised in Belarus, very small country in Eastern Europe. Many people don't know about this. I moved to the US in 2018 before I was studying and I get my bachelor degree in architecture and I was working as an architect. And I just wanted to continue my education and expand my career because I was traveling a lot. I saw a lot. So I was thinking like that studying abroad is like the next logic step for me. And also I was looking for opportunities and frankly speaking, there are not many opportunities in Belarus. I was working as an architect for 2 years there and around age 23, I already reached the possible potential. I already got all the opportunities that I could find in Belarus. So there was no point for me to build my career there. So I was applying for master's degree and that's how I was accepted to ASU with the full ride scholarship for master's in urban planning. I came here in 2018. I graduated in 2020. And since my degree was in urban planning, I was working in this field. I get several internships and I'm still working in this field. But during my master's degree, I also started exploring social media. It was like my personal interest. I didn't have any idea that it can lead to a solid online business. But here I am after 5 years at this point. I started my own company, got clients, explored several different directions, and so my business is my second job.
I'm curious if there was anything that you absorbed as a kid. Like, did you have anything around you growing up that you think led you to this path of entrepreneurship?
That is a very good question. My parents were entrepreneurs themselves when I was a kid, and I saw that they were very happy when they were doing this and when they had an opportunity to do this. Unfortunately, because of different political shifts and changes, at some point they had to shut down their business because it was not possible and profitable to do this anymore. So they had to go to 9 to 5 regular job. So this was, I guess, the first touch with it because I saw how happy they were. They could do whatever they want. We traveled once a year. We had a big trip to the sea ocean, which is a very big thing in Belarus. Not many people can do it. And especially 20 years ago. And then another thing that I had in my childhood, it was not that positive thing. I think it's just being raised in the 90s in post-Soviet country. It's just when you don't have anything, you can't see the world, you cannot afford much. This also influenced me a lot because I realized that I really want to do something by myself, to have my own business, and just simply to make more money, to be able to afford whatever I want, to see the world. So this lack of ability to afford basic things or just things that you want, I think this is another thing that I had in my childhood that led me to this path where I just try to build something where I don't have limits, where I can achieve whatever I want.
I think there is this thing that's typically common for people from post-Soviet countries in particular. I'm sure it's possibly a universal experience, but specifically for post-Soviet countries, there is this complicated relationship with money that people tend to have because of being so familiar with, frankly, poverty, right? Not having opportunities around us, not having the freedom to do whatever we might want to do. I think it's more familiar to our families, like our parents potentially, but also being raised in that environment, I think, impacted a lot of people. Do you feel like it impacts your relationship with money today? And if so, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, for sure. They're being raised in an environment where you don't have money, you can afford things, and money, it is so hard to get. And even you work hard, you still don't get enough. It definitely influenced me a lot, and I think it influenced anyone. But speaking about myself, of course, there was a very long path for me where I came from, like, you have to work 60 hours to get paid pennies, and when you get paid pennies, like, you that's what you deserve, because that's what it is, and you have to figure out how to live. And then I came to the point where now I have the luxury to pick the clients I want to work with, and I don't work with clients who doesn't want to pay well, who is cheap, who is just not worth my emotional and mental energy to work with them, just because now I know my value. And also this stage of mind where you can rely on yourself. You know that whatever happens, I can figure this out. I know how to make money. And if something will not work out, there will be other opportunity, or I will create another opportunity to make this happen for myself. And all this knowledge, how to make money, how to budget this, how to invest even in some things, it's definitely was a long way for me to learn from where I came from.
Yeah, and that's honestly one of the many reasons why I find a lot of inspiration in what you do and how you approach your projects, because it's that dedication to getting yourself to a better place and knowing that you deserve more, because I've seen a lot of people that have similar backgrounds to ours, but they don't necessarily get to that place of like realizing, okay, there's actually more out there that I can have and that I can do. I find this attitude that you have really inspirational, because I think as much as I would want it to be common, it's not common among the people who come from similar backgrounds to ours, because I think it's way easier to be comfortable with what you know instead of trying to have better things for yourself and trying to make those things happen. So yeah, I admire that a lot, and I do respect that dedication to having better things and doing great things a lot. So thanks for sharing that with the world.
I agree with you that unfortunately it's not common, and it simply is not encouraged by society. What society wants us is to, what they say, appreciate what you have, which is totally fine, and this is right. But sometimes people take it too far, and to the point that they just get comfortable with what they have, and they just don't even try to ask for more. And when someone bold enough asking for more and want more themselves, they got judged a lot, and they get like weird comments like, how dare you and all. But actually, I believe that this is what should be normal. Yes, you can have good life, and of course you should be grateful for this, but same time, I don't like to fall for this and just be happy with what I have. Like, I usually focus on what's next, what's in the future, how can I have more, because you never can have more. It's never enough, because you always can do more with what you have. Even if you have all things you want, you can at least help others with what you have. So it's like, it's never enough.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there is a lot to be said about gratitude and practicing gratitude, because it does sort of ground you in the present moment, and it shows you that, okay, you have a lot, but I do agree that sometimes anchoring yourself in the present moment too much in today's economy, let's be honest, and in how the world works nowadays is just not beneficial, because you want to be strategic about how you use your time and what you do basically with the resources that you have. So yeah, I think it's probably a matter of mastering both, being grateful but also willing to take risks, and kind of being curious about what you can do tomorrow. Like, what can you aim for tomorrow, and how are you going to get there in terms of like taking risks. Essentially, it's all about taking risks and being bold, like you said. Is there anything that you do on a daily basis that allows you to keep up with this lifestyle and like maintain this entrepreneurial mindset without getting overwhelmed, like because of the financial challenges, meaning financial challenges that any entrepreneur faces, right? Because you're not relying on your 9-to-5 job, but you're trying to get things happen. Yeah, is there any daily practice or anything that you find helpful?
To be honest, I know what many entrepreneurs do, at least from what they show in their social media. And to be honest, I don't have a good routine of like when I get up, I spend like hour for myself, I do reading and working out every day. Like, I don't have this. I do such things, but I can't call this a routine because like I do it sometime. I would say the only good thing I have that is actually like I control and I put effort into doing this on at more or less daily basis is planning my day. So the task management and the planning the day helps me a lot. The best thing I found for myself that works, like I plan my day ahead. Always every evening I plan the next day, like the most important tasks, the least important tasks, the tasks what I can do if I will have enough time, energy, and so on. So I put a lot of effort into exploring how to organize my day better, what strategies works, how to do time management, project management for myself, because I like to write like 10 tasks for the day, and obviously sometimes it's not possible. So I would say the time management and project management, these two things that really help me to move forward with everything that I do.
Honestly, you hear that from everybody, right? Who is in this space. Most people will also say that it's a very personal journey, meaning what works for one person may not work for another person. So it really is about self-discovery and like experimentation. But do you think there are some things that would work for all in terms of like managing your time and resources and being efficient? Do you think there are some practices that anybody can apply?
Yes, definitely. Even though everyone has their own schedule, preferences, habits, and so on, that forms the day and the way every person acts differently. But I would say there are definitely things that anyone can try to implement The first one is the ability to prioritize things, projects, and everything that needs to be done. And the ability to set the priorities is very important because that's how you actually can achieve things. And unfortunately, sometimes people focus on things that are not important or things that don't give result on the long run, but they spend so much energy on this. So prioritizing, I would say, this is one of the most important things. Another thing that I recently find for myself very useful is out of all of my movements and actions, I would say it's good to spend 50% of your energy on the things that actually move the needle at the end. So to focus on things that will benefit you on the long run, that will make this project happen, even though without maybe some modifications, maybe the project will not be perfect, but it will happen. And yeah, I would say 50% of energy everyone should focus on moving the needle forward.
I think that's a solid piece of advice because realistically, I think we've all experienced mundane tasks just filling up all of our day just like that because things come up all the time and there is always somebody to send an email to or help out, but that's not necessarily the stuff that gets you closer to your goals. So I do think, I found it to be extremely beneficial as well to actually pay attention to what contributes to my goals and what doesn't, because a lot of the things just don't at the end of the day. And it's up to you to identify that because there's always going to be something external to be distracted by, and it will distract you if you let it. And it's going to happen inevitably every day, but you can minimize how much of that you have, right?
I would also add another two things based on what you said, that once a person masters the ability to set priorities and to focus on things that really matter, they will, let's say, unlock this luxury of letting things go. And it's very powerful when you have 10 things to do on your list, but you did only 5. And then you don't worry about other 5 that you didn't do today because they actually not important. And for me, this is a luxury just not to worry about things that I don't have time to do. And when I set my priorities, this is what really helped me to stop worry, because all entrepreneurs, they worry about everything. Like most of the people, like they like to control. We all like to have some certainty of what happens, and just ability to let go, not to worry about some stuff. This is the luxury that will help anyone to have their peace of mind. And another thing that is really important too, I would like to add, is anyone who would like to achieve something in life, something more than an average person, they should be fine with working more than 8 hours, because that's the reality. I work more than 8 hours, but at the end of the day, that's the reason why I have more than many people at my age. And often people are like, hey, 8 hours a day of work, that's enough. But actually, if you think about it, you can work way more if you don't spend time on useless things. And that's what successful people do at the beginning. Everyone works 10, 12 hours. It's just people don't like this truth.
They say don't expect extraordinary results from doing ordinary things, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So definitely, I totally agree with that. And I was also going to add that I recently had a conversation with somebody that helped me change my mindset when it comes to prioritizing things and being okay with not being able to do something at the end of the day. It's this concept of, okay, you have 3 things on your list. You want to do X, Y, Z. Instead of saying at the beginning of the day or the day before, I'm going to do X and Y and Z, which puts a lot of pressure on you. And it creates this idea that if I don't have all of this done by the end of the day, I failed. The shift happens when you reframe it to be, I am going to do X or Y or Z, which to me does seem like a good way of planning, and also removes this pressure of having everything done by the end of the day, because let's be real, life happens every day, and if all three things are important to you and you don't get all of it done, I mean, you probably still did your best, and it's just fair to acknowledge that. If those three things are not equally important to you, it's just fair to not put so much pressure on yourself to get all of that done, right? So I've been practicing this for a little bit, and I've noticed a huge shift because, first of all, I put way fewer things on my to-do list per day because I can tell ahead of time, okay, 10 things, I'm not going to be able to do 10 things. It's just not happening. And B, it forces me to assess how much resources all of these things actually deserve and kind of go for the ones that move the needle, like you talked about, and also feel deserving, essentially. That's all it is. I'm curious, in this process of being in the space of social media and having your own business and being in charge of things, being your own boss, essentially, what are some of the challenges that you've experienced? What is the biggest challenge? Let's take the biggest challenge.
I would say the biggest challenge for any business owner or entrepreneur is not to get too attached to your business on a personal level, because frankly speaking, many businesses die at the first several years, and not every business will be profitable the next day you open your LLC. And it is very important, especially in social media, because you get so much attention in social media, is not to take all this personally, because it's overwhelming and your business is not you. Even though I like the idea that business is me, it's my baby, it's my project, but still it's better to think that it's not all you. It's just a business, and you can have another business and then another business and then another business. And things get easier when you don't get attached to personal to a business. And another thing challenging, well, let's be honest, money in business is challenging. It's challenging to have money for the beginning. It's challenging to make money. It's challenging when your business doesn't make money, but you have bills. This is also challenging. So this is also the financial part of business. It's not easy.
It's kind of interesting how, with the social media being such a big part of everybody's lives, it seems to have created this idea that anybody can do it, meaning anybody can have a social media business and make money and apparently pay bills with it, which seems to me to be a total lie that's being sold to millions of people on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. Oh my God, YouTube especially. So since you are familiar with the industry and you know the ins and outs of it, what would you say to somebody who thinks that's how it is, but we would want to caution people from having idealistic expectations from it?
I would say many things, but I would start from the most important. And in 2023, I don't see social media as the way to get attention anymore. And if someone is doing social media just to get views and likes, I would think this person would benefit more from investing money in therapy session, because that's not normal to do social media just for the attention if you don't have enough attention in real life. Because it's just not worth it. It's very expensive hobby, mentally or financially. It's not, yes, it's very toxic. It's just, you better do therapy for a year or two, and you will be better off than just having 1 million followers on TikTok for no any business purpose. And then if someone wants to do social media to make money, well, they better have a full-time job that can pay their bills at the end. Because making money on social media is not that easy. It's basically the same way as you make money in any business. you have the marketing strategy, you at some point you will need the teaming to understand how the business process works. Of course, it's easier than, let's say, to make money with the restaurant, just because you basically don't need to put any money into online business, or relatively very low startup costs, but still you need to put a lot of effort, and it's not that easy. And you definitely need some knowledge. The other day, I saw the report from Linktree and I was shocked with the numbers. So, around like 70% of creators, influencers, they have less than 50,000 followers or even less. And they classified as their beginners or like intermediate person, which means that so many people have the accounts, have some audience, but still they are not making enough money even to pay their rent with their social media. So many people don't know what they're doing in social media, but like they're doing it for fun, which is okay. But I'm trying to say that only around like 10% of people out of all social media, which is like a lot of accounts, a lot of creators and influencers, only like 10%, maybe 15% manage to made it there. So it's a difficult business just because you need skills as for any other business, and not anyone can make it that far. Like a very small amount of people can make it that far.
Yeah, I think it's a fair reminder that it is a business and a market just like any other market, meaning if you're in engineering, of course, it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of time to get to that, say, 10%, top 10% of skilled professionals. But the same thing applies to social media. And it's just this idea that has been created over the years that social media is somehow easier, more accessible, potentially, yes, more accessible, but it's not easier, right? It's just a different kind of business.
Yeah, there is also a big trend on TikTok, especially at the end of the year, where people try to present their accomplishments, and many creators, influencers, they do videos like, oh, this year I made this much and this much. And when I look at these numbers, like clearly this person can survive on this money that this person made on social media. So this creator, he or she has a full-time job to make it in life, right? To pay all your bills and to be able to afford like some traveling and some other stuff. But at the end of the day, this means that this person works like 60 hours a week, which is not the goal for many people, right? Like eventually when you make a business, you work a lot at the beginning, but then you work less at the end and you have more money, right? And when someone wants to leave their 9 to 5, they also want to leave their 9 to 5 to work less to make more money. But so there's also this discrepancy between when people show their numbers and they don't tell the big part of their life. And people think that, oh, you can just make, let's say, $2,000 from social media, but you also need to have a job.
Mm-hmm. I've seen a few creators bringing some transparency into this conversation on YouTube specifically, because I'm not as involved with watching content on other social media platforms, but it's still not a lot of people, right? It's still just a small percentage that wants to dilute that toxicity and unrealistic expectations a little bit. But of course, if it's just a small number of people, the majority is still going to idealize this, what we can call creator economy, which is very hard on a lot of people. And I think it's very smart to place your bets on other things alongside social media, to just be sure that you can make something work and not get discouraged because of the unpredictability of social media.
Yes, it's true. And when you not only run the business, but in general, you try to make money in life in any way, it's good practice to diversify your income, just because you can't rely on just one thing, especially in the economy that we are going to have in 2023.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Financial literacy is definitely one of the harder topics, right? But definitely something that everyone needs to invest in terms of their learning and developing habits that support their financial stability. And I wish there were more resources specifically for students, because I have not come across any resource that was like presented to me as a student. I've seen some workshops maybe, but when does it come into your life when you're 20 something years old? That's just not timely. It's kind of too late, right?
Yeah, I think frankly you should start at high school because at 20 it's too late.
Yeah, unfortunately. Unfortunately, that's the stuff that a lot of us just learn on our own by trial and error, and that's just the way it is, I guess. Aside from your all the professional lessons and the professional experience that you've gained over the years, what do you consider your biggest personal accomplishment at this point?
Speaking of personal accomplishment, I would say that moving to another country, to the US, and actually building my life here, this is the biggest accomplishment because my parents, they don't have university education. So I'm basically a first generation student, right? And not only I've got the education, I've got master's and bachelor degrees, both with full ride scholarships, just because we couldn't afford the loan even. We don't have them in our country. So this is the big accomplishment. And from this, I also figured out how to build a business, build my career also in my field where I got education. I would say this is the biggest accomplishment because moving to another country is hard and you basically reborn because when you move to another country, you are no one, you have no rights, even to work and do like basic other stuff that many people have actual opportunity to do, but they don't appreciate this. So this is hard to become someone in another country.
And it's not something you could ever be prepared for either, right? It's just something that you or your family throw you into, and you just have to figure it out.
Well, my family didn't throw me into this. It was my decision and my desire. But of course, it's not a common thing to move from one country to another. And it should not be common. You should be happy and you should have opportunities where you were born, where you can enjoy being with your family and all this stuff. Not everyone should go through this stress. It's just very the moving to another country is very extreme solution, and I don't think that everyone should go through this.
Builds your character like nothing else.
Well, yes, for sure, but I'm saying that in the perfect world, everyone everywhere should have opportunities.
Yeah, I agree with it. Although in my experience, I think about it every now and then, and I just come to the conclusion I wouldn't want it to be any other way. Like, I couldn't have had it any other way. It's just something that was meant to happen, and it's something that has shaped me into the person that I am today, and I wouldn't trade it for the world, to be honest. No matter how difficult it is, and no matter how crazy it is at times, it's a good time.
Yes, it is.
Tell us a little bit about who you are behind the scenes. What do you enjoy in your free time? What do you do?
That is a hard question. I don't have much free time just because when I have a free time, I try to fill it up with work, which is not really healthy. But anyway, I have some things that I really enjoy and like to keep my mind off work. Obviously, one of those is just sport. I have difficult relationship with sport. I don't like it, but I do it because it helps me mentally and physically. Another thing I have, let's say a hobby. I like to build Lego. It came from the architecture background. I just like to build like the cities, all these like cool things that they have. It just helps me to focus on something. And sometimes I try other things like painting because like I used to paint, or like other stuff, like to be more creative, just to not think about the work.
The reason why I ask this question is I'm a firm believer that you have to have something going on outside of your main projects, be it school or your professional life, because that is who you are as a whole, right? Because you're so much bigger than just one thing that you're doing. That's why I was curious. I mean, I know, but I think it's important to highlight that it's very important to allow yourself to have fun and allow yourself to have something going on besides all of these like super important things, super big things like your job, potentially like a family, right? Because that makes up who you are. And that I think all of those things feed each other in a way. It gives you energy, gives you inspiration, excites you, re-energizes you. And I think it's super crucial to have those extra things that are just for you. Because for me, I notice a huge difference between when I'm just working, studying, not doing anything else versus when I'm doing something for myself, despite all of those big challenges that I have in my life every day.
Yeah, I agree. I guess I did not understand your question from the very beginning because I did not answer it from the point of value. And like, I did not include in my answer things that I consider very basic, but they're still kind of important for me. And I still do this, and I know many people do it. But anyway, things like reading, traveling, try to go somewhere as much as I can. I try to always try new practices like yoga, or then I had the era of my life when I was into meditation a lot. And so things like this.
What do you like to read?
I mainly focus on business books for business, like marketing and all this stuff. And another group of books I like to read is more like personal development or self-help, what they call. So to, I would say, explore more about myself.
Is there any one thing that you've come across, whether it's a book or a show or an interview, that you think has been beneficial to you and could be beneficial to other people specifically?
Well, it's definitely a book because I don't believe how a show or the movie or whatever on the TV can be beneficial. The book I actually read a long time ago, but it's still like on the top of my list that I would recommend anyone to read. It is actually a fictional book. It is actually a biography of very famous painter Van Gogh, but it's very easy to read because it's not dry, full of facts. It's actually like written in a very fiction way by another person who specializes in this. The name of the book is Lust for Life. And what I really liked about it and why I suggested to anyone, especially in entrepreneurship space, it just shows how difficult it is to find your inner genius. And for some people, it may take majority of their life to fight for the right to be themselves and to find their inner voice and to find this project or this calling that will make their life meaningful or will make their life full or will just make them someone they want to be. And there is also this very big belief in the society that all genius or famous people, they were born this way and they're just lucky, they're chosen one who just have this inner genius inside them and they create things, and we mere mortal people just get to enjoy them. And this is completely untrue because all people who accomplish something, they went through a lot of shit, let's be honest, and it's a lot of fighting, a lot of work. And when I was reading this book, I didn't know that Van Gogh went through so much stuff, and I really like his paintings. And so it was, for me, very insightful. I saw a lot about myself in this book, the way he was dedicated to his dream, to his mission. And this is the truth. This is how great things are made, and this is how great people are created.
Yeah, I find that really interesting. The whole idea of somebody being a genius versus demystifying the genius, because I think, sure, there are some people who are pure geniuses, but it's probably a much smaller percentage of the population.
Yeah, it's very tiny, maybe 1%. But the rest of us, everyone has a chance to become a genius if you put a lot of work into this.
Yeah, the power of your mind and dedication and effort. I think they can do amazing things in combination. I really appreciate that you made the time to join me today for this recording. And It's been a pleasure talking to you about all of this. As always, I always find something to learn from you. And I would just want to express my support for what you do once again on and off the mic, because I don't think it's easy, and I think you're killing it regardless. So I am excited to see where you go moving forward, and I'm excited to see what you do with all of your projects and goals. So I believe this is going to be super beneficial to a lot of people, just because this is the whole idea behind this podcast, to share with others what can be done, since we're a very unique student group on campus, right? International students. There's a lot of us, and there is a lot of great things that we're all doing. So I just want to be able to share that with others and spread this excellence within the community so that people can learn from each other and get inspired and potentially overcome some of their limiting beliefs or fears that might get in the way when you are in a different environment that's challenging by definition, but also challenging even more so when you don't know how some things work and you have to figure it out on your own. So I really appreciate your wisdom. It's been really great talking to you. So thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you so much for this opportunity too as well. ASU is definitely a unique space, and it has a lot of opportunities, and I know that there is very common belief in the society that university can't give you anything, and this is completely untrue. It's all up to a specific person, and ASU has a lot to offer, and it helped me a lot on my way to be where I am right now, and I really hope it will inspire someone or give some thoughts to someone here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or you want to be featured on this project, please use the contact information provided in the description. Take care.